Greetings, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. I am your host, Peg. Gosh, it's good to be back. I have some more stability going on. We know we're going to be staying here for the winter, so I'm less stressed out, and I'm ready to show you some books. And boy, have they've certainly piled up. Now, I plan on releasing more videos this week, and I got a new light on my computer here, so the new situation in this room in my office space now is that unfortunately I don't have that awesome 360 kind of background. You get part of my bookcase. Let's see if I can. That's where I used to sit in the corner, and now I'm up against facing the wall. But we're gonna make do. And now I've got some better lighting. Anyway, it's good to be back. Make sure the microphone is right here next to my mouth. Let's see. These books have been piling up, and it's from the fantastic people, one of my favorite publishers, Casemate Publishers. And as you know, I'm a military history fan, military history buff. And as far as I know on BookTube, I think I'm the only female with that interest. But if you know of another female out there with an interest in military history, please let me know. I would love to meet that person. I think I'm the only one. But I know a lot of you who watch are also interested in military history, men and women. So, fantastic. But please give a shout out below if you're also a military history fan and a lady. All right, what's up? Woo! Okay, well, tons of new releases from Casemate. They have spoiled me rotten. They've sent me things I haven't even requested. So I'm going to thank, shout out to my favorite publicist at Casemate, the only publicist I know, my good friend Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. I love these books. I'm reading them. I love showing them on this channel. And wow, this time around we've got some great stuff. Now, speaking of ladies in military history, let's start off with this first book because, frankly, this says it all. Okay? We are part of military history. Look at this brand new book here. Women and Weapons in the Viking World, Amazons of the North by Lizette Gardella. Now, I know Vin at Revenant Reads would love this book probably. He's also a big Viking fan. I've got a lot of people out there who love Viking history. But this is a nice big, and I'm sorry you can see my my light on my computer shining off of here. This is a big coffee table sized book and brand new from Casemate. So when I saw this came out, I was like, I have to look at this. It gets really into the particulars of in regional history of the women and the women warriors, and they do a lot of drawings of like the grave diggings and how the bones were laid out, and they reconceptualize them here. There's several of these in the book, and they're just amazing. Let's see here. And there's also a chapter at the end that I really dig, which was called Women and Weapons. Sorry, hang on. Women with Weapons, a cross-cultural phenomenon, and they actually highlight even other cultures. I can never get this right. There we go. But so let me see here. I want to show you another picture of the grave drawings because they're just fantastic. Yeah, I know Vin would really like to have this book. Look at that. I've got to get this microphone so it's not in my way. There we go. So as I'm showing you, I can speak right into it. Okay, perfect. Let me just read you a quick overview here. The Viking Age, AD 750 to 1050, is conventionally portrayed as a tumultuous time when hordes of fierce warriors from Scandinavia wreaked havoc across the European continent, and when Norse merchants traveled to distant corners of the world in pursuit of slaves, silver, and exotic commodities. Until fairly recently, Norse society during this pivotal period in world history has been characterized as male-dominated, with women's roles dismissed or substantially downplayed. There is, however, ample textual and archaeological evidence to suggest that many of the most spectacular achievements of Viking Age Scandinavians in craftsmanship, exploration, the cross-cultural trade, warfare, and other spheres of life would not have been possible without the active involvement of women, and that both within the walls of the household and in the wider public arena, women's voices were heard, respected, and followed. So talking about this book here, lavishly illustrated, this pioneering book explores the stories of the female warrior and women's links with the martial sphere of life in the Viking Age, using literature and archaeological evidence from Scandinavia and the wider Viking world to examine the motivations and circumstances that led women to engage in armed conflict. So this book is going to speak to that. Be a fantastic addition to any self-respecting Viking history lovers library. There's also like just current like reenactment photos and stuff, people dressed up in the accoutrement, as it were. It talks about the methodological and theoretical framework. I know these words, I can speak them. So yeah, a fantastic new book, so different from the usual stuff I see, and I love seeing more history about women in the realm of military history and military, warriors, fighters. So check out Women and Weapons in the Viking World, Amazons of the North by Leszek Gardella, put out by Casemate. Okay. Ooh, so another recent book, and these are all from Casemate. So I'm just going to let you know that. Am I in the rule of thirds here? I don't think so. Let's do this. Okay, so, I love Russian and Soviet history and spy stuff and all that good, and Cold War. It's all up my alley. And this is a brand new book. This was put out by Helion, which is Casemate distributes. But this is Up Against the Wall, The KGB in Latvia, by Vincent Hunt. So, not too big of a book here. And I'm going to be doing a video soon on Nonfiction November, and I'm in the midst of trying to pick at least one or two extra books that I'm already doing 2 buddy reads of massive nonfiction history that will carry over through November. But I'm going to do one of these, I think, 1 or 2 of these. And I will show those in another video. But let me read this to you real quick. The ruthless methods of the KGB are laid bare in this history of Latvia's twisted relationship with the Soviet security police, the beatings, executions, and deportations. It warns you up front. It says this book is not for the faint-hearted. Ironically, the bayonets of Lenin's loyal Latvian Red Riflemen helped secure the Bolshevik Revolution and win the Civil War. Then Stalin's purges and 50 years of totalitarianism left this Baltic state at the mercy of the KGB. This book presents eyewitness accounts of Latvia's KGB years, from the partisan resistance, Cold War spying missions, and grandmothers and children dying lonely deaths in sub-zero gulags, to the human rights activists, the barricades of 1991, and the 27-year wait for the secrets of the Soviet times to be made public, with the opening of the, quote, Cheka bags, unquote, in December of 2018. So that's interesting. I've never heard of the Cheka bags. Fantastic. Oh, look at the back of the book there. It looks like grave markers there, yeah. Again, it's put out by Helion and Company, which is an imprint of Casemate. They're the distributor, as I said. I like to make sure I'm giving proper, due recognition. A lot of these books are just fantastically illustrated, and they maps, and you can see this got the nice, sturdy, glossy paper that will never fade. Lots of photographs. I love the quality. The quality of these books that Casemate puts out just stands the test of time. So I'm looking forward to reading this. So Up Against the Wall, The KGB in Latvia, by Vincent Hunt. And then we move into the Spanish Civil War, which has been an area that I have been interested in, as I've told you many times before, for at least a year now. And this is another aspect of that war. Now, this one is put out by Pen and Sword, also under Casemate, and this is The Spanish Civil War at Sea, Dark and Dangerous Waters by Michael Alpert. It's a beautiful cover. Pen and Sword Maritime Division there. Get some of those pictures in there for you. Says here, the Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 1939 underlined the importance of the sea as the supply route to both General Franco's insurgents and the Spanish Republic. There were attempted blockades by Franco, as well as attacks by his Italian and German allies against legitimate, neutral, largely British merchant shipping bound for Spanish Republican ports, and challenges to the Royal Navy, which was obliged to maintain a heavy presence in the area. The conflict provoked splits in British public opinion. Events at sea both created and reflected the international tensions of the latter 1930s, when the policy of appeasement of Germany and Italy dissuaded Britain from taking action against those countries' activities in Spain, except to participate in a largely ineffective naval patrol to try to prevent the supply of war material to both sides. The book is based on original documents from both Britain and Spain and is intended for the general reader, as well as students and academics interested in the history of the 1930s, in naval matters, and in the Spanish Civil War. So sounds like it's a catch-all that it will appeal to everybody. Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. I've got a nice, healthy collection of books on the Spanish Civil War right now, and this is really like, the type of keyhole military history I really get into. That really takes a look at one particular aspect of it. So, Dark and Dangerous Waters, The Spanish Civil War at Sea by Michael Alpert. They're fantastic. Another book on the Spanish Civil War, you guys. I just love it. Okay, let's get into it. This is Spanish Republicans and the Second World War. Republic Across the Mountains by Jonathan Whitehead. This is also put out by Pen and Sword. All right, let's see what we got here. There's a lot to read here. Okay. I'll just read this real quick. Spanish Republicans in the Second World War tells the stories of the 500,000 Spanish Republicans that fled across the Pyrenees in 1939 as Catalonia fell to Franco's victorious army in the final weeks of the Civil War. Many of the exiles played an active part in the Second World War. Some joined the French and British armed forces and saw action in various theaters, including Africa and Europe, both in 1940 and after D-Day. In August 1944, Spanish Republicans in the La Neuve Company of General Leclerc's Guillaume Blandy, me and the French names, it's not going to happen, were the first Allied troops into Paris during the liberation of the French capital. Those that had remained in Vichy France were active from the early days of the French resistance, and Republican Maquis also played a significant part in the liberation of the southwest of France in 1944. I did not know that. Those who fought the Axis troops in Spain during the Civil War and then again in France assumed that once the Allies had defeated the Nazis, they would launch a military campaign to overthrow Franco's government in Spain. In October 1944, a force of thousands of Spanish Maquis took part in Operación Reconquista, the invasion of the Valley of Oran on the Spanish side of the Pyrenees. Their declared aim was to trigger a popular uprising and force the Allies to intervene against Franco's dictatorship. Whitehead also examines the role of the Spanish volunteers of the Division Azul, who swore an oath of allegiance to Hitler and fought with the Wehrmacht on the Eastern Front. The role of the master double agent Garbo, who played a crucial part in the success of D-Day, the strategic importance of Gibraltar, and the activities of the British diplomatic corps and secret services in resisting Hitler's plans to invade the Iberian Peninsula. So these are all the things that the author looks at in this book. So, sounds like I'm going to learn something very new here. I did not know that the Republicans did that they were part of the French resistance, certain parts of them, and also some, which I'm not surprised, wanted to fight for Hitler. So another fantastic addition to Spanish Civil War history from Casemate. Thank you. And then we move, we're just going to jump all around here. Then we move to Roman Britain. We're going to go ancient history now. Are you guys ready for this? This looks great. Another Pen and Sword book. Roman Conquest, Britain by Simon Elliott. Very simple cover. So let's see what he's going to say here about this. Um, the okay, it's part of a series apparently called the Roman. Okay, that makes sense. It's part of a series called Roman Conquests, and it covers different areas. So this one is obviously just about Britain. So let's go ahead and read this now. The Roman Conquests series seeks to explain when and how the Romans were able to conquer a vast empire stretching from the foothills of the Scottish Highlands to the Sahara Desert, from the Atlantic to the Persian Gulf. How did their armies adapt to and overcome the challenges of widely varied enemies and terrain? In this volume, Dr. Simon Elliott draws on the latest research and archaeological evidence to present a new narrative of the conquest, never completed, of Britain. From Julius Caesar's initial incursions in 55 and 54 BC through the Claudian invasion of 43 AD and the campaigns of expansion and pacification thereafter, he analyzes the Roman army in action. The weapons, equipment, organization, leadership, strategy, and tactics of the legions and their British foes are described and analyzed. That's what he just said. The ferocity of the resistance was such that the island was never wholly subdued and required a disproportionate military presence for the duration of its time as a Roman province. So let's see here. Got the timeline, nice bibliography. Got some color photos too, present day. Very nice. So let's see here. Oh, I love it. Lots of nice color photos of ruins. Oh, check, they even have little miniature soldiers here. Showing you kind of like how they looked. Oh, and I love, yes, this is the type of artwork I love that in my Ancient Warfare magazines. I love this type of artwork, so awesome. Black and white photographs. Some of the chapter titles we've got here, it basically covers exactly what I just read in the summary, Britain in the late Iron Age, Julius Caesar in Britain, Claudian invasion. Oh, we've got Septimius Severus in Scotland too. So a nice, doable volume here. I'm interested in these other Roman series, or the Roman Conquest series. So I don't know if this is the first. This might be the first in this new series. I need to check that out. But I'm excited to have this one. Okay, then we moved to England. Well, we were in England. Sorry. We're duh. Oh, hang on a second. Little caffeine. Never hurt anybody. We're going to talk about the English Civil War. Or, no, in this case, the Lost Civil War. We're going to talk about King John Henry III. Okay. I think this is an area where I don't know much about, and that's why I'm screwing all this up. It's in the early 13th century. Okay, so I am looking forward to learning about this. So let's take a look. King John Henry III and England's Lost Civil War by John Paul Davis. And I love this cover. That is just very well done. Another pen and sword book. There we go. Got that. Okay, so let's find out about this, shall we? In 1204, the Great Angevin Empire, created by the joining of the dynasties of Henry II of England and his queen, Eleanor of Aquitaine, okay, know all about them, was fragmenting. At its height, the family landholdings had been among the largest the world had ever seen. From the border of England and Scotland in the north to south of the Pyrenees, it seemed there was nowhere in Europe destined to escape Plantagenet control. Yet within 5 years of his accession, King John's grip on the family holdings was loosening. Betrayal against his father and brother, the murder of his nephew, and breaking promises made to his supporters were just some of the accusations leveled against him. When Philip II conquered Normandy, the chroniclers believed that an ancient prophecy was fulfilled, that in this year the sword would be separated from the scepter. For the first time since 1066, England's rule over the ancestral land was over. For John, troubles on the continent were just the beginning of a series of challenges that would ultimately define his reign. Difficult relations with the papacy, coupled with rising dissent among his barons, ensured conflict would not be limited to the continent. When John died in 1216, more than half of the country was in the hands of the Dauphin of France, Never had the future of the Plantagenet dynasty looked more uncertain. And then, as the following pages will show, throughout the first 18 years of the reign of Henry III, the future direction of England as a political state, the identity of the ruling family, and the fate of Henry II's lost empire were still matters that could have gone either way. For the advisors of the young king, led by the influential regent William Marshall, 1st Earl of Pembroke, the effects of John's reign would be long and severe. Let's see. Successful implementation of the failed Magna Carta may have ensured his son's short-term survival, yet living up to such promises created arguably a more significant challenge. This is the story of how the... True story. Sorry, that's a real-world reference. This is the story of how the varying actions of two very different kings both threatened and created the English way of life, and ultimately put England on the path to its lost civil war. Okay, so I think I read that wrong. It was King John. I think they need a comma. King John, Henry III, and England's lost civil war. Okay, by John Paul Davis. So, I got confused because I didn't see the punctuation there, but I should have known. I didn't realize that John's son was Henry III because I don't know as much about the Plantagenets as I do say about American Civil War. That stuff I can reel off in my sleep. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out and really getting this stuff straight in my brain. But again, wonderful illustrations and pictures, artwork. It's a papal bull. So fantastic. Brand new release. Check it out. Okay, now we're moving on to the stack to my left. If that means anything to you. You know what? I'll save the stuff that just came in the other day. I got some brand new books from Casemate just yesterday. And I'm going to get to these ones that I had to wait on because we thought we were packing up to move really quickly, and that didn't happen. But it will when we're ready. Okay, so we're going to go to American Civil War, which is my bailiwick. All right, brand new book on that is called Crosshairs on the Capitol. Jubal Early's Raid on Washington, D.C., July 1864. Reasons, Reactions, and Results by James H. Bruns. There you go. It's Casemate publication. For those of you who are not aware of that, there was a raid in 1864 that Jubal Early's cavalry kind of threatened Washington, and everyone was freaking out. But let's take a look here. I'll give you the official summary. In an era of battlefield one-upmanship, the raid on the nation's capital in July 1864 was prompted by an earlier failed Union attempt to destroy Richmond and free the Union prisoners held there. Jubal Early's mission was in part to let the North have a taste of its own medicine by attacking Washington and freeing the Confederate prisoners at Point Lookout in southern Maryland. He also planned to fill the South's larder from unmolested Union fields, mills, and barns. By 1864, such Southern food raids had become annual wartime events. The raid intended to threaten, and if at all possible, capture Washington. This latter task was unrealistic in an age when the success of rifle fire was judged not by accuracy, but by the amount of lead that was shot into the air. The initial Union defenders of the city were largely former slaves, freemen, mechanics, shopkeepers, and government clerks, as well as invalids. They might not have known much about riflery and accuracy, but they were capable of discharging ample lead until regular Union regiments arrived. Jubal Early hesitated in attacking Washington, but he held the city defenders at bay while his troops pillaged the countryside for the food Lee's army needed to survive. This is the real story about the attack on Washington in July 1864, covering the context of the raid, the planning and aims of the attack, the results, and the reactions. So, I don't recall, there hasn't been a book recently about the raid in particular, so this is a good keyhole history of that. Let's see here, I'm going to give you a picture of Jubal Early. I think Jubal Early was one of the guys one of the nefarious men after the war that was responsible for cultivating the Lost Cause movement. And slandered Longstreet and did all that stuff to really screw up the nation going forward. Thanks, Jubal. Not a big fan. Not a big fan. There's a picture of him as an older man. Come on, where's the picture of Jubal Early? Ah. Okay, well here he is as an old man. There you go. But anyway, a great, just small, compact history, about 200 pages, just about all about the raid. And, I'm happy to have this one. I can't recall a book that I have on my shelves that talks about just the early raid of 1864. So, okay, fantastic. Put that back down here. Okay, then we jump to World War One. Woo! We're all over the map. We got lots of different military history. And we're at 25 minutes. Okay, so this is a brand new release. I've seen it. This has been highlighted on along with Crosshairs on the Capitol. This book, Burn, Bomb, Destroy, The German Sabotage Campaign in North America, 1914 to 1917, by Michael Digby. This one has been featured on my history book club as like new arrivals. I've been seeing a lot of Casemate books making it into the history book club, if you're a member of that. So they're getting a lot of well, obviously, they're a mainstream publisher, but I like seeing these things being incorporated into the actual, military and history book clubs selections for the month and stuff like that. So, yeah, so here we go. Burn, Bomb, Destroy by Michael Digby. Says here, for many Americans, World War I was a European war fought over there, as the popular 1917 song goes. In the blood-soaked battlefields of Verdun, the Somme, and in Flanders Field, not on American soil. But Walter Nicolai, chief of the German intelligence service known as Abteilung 3B, saw it differently. A student of irregular warfare, his plan called for the creation of a network of saboteurs and spies, supported by scientists, diplomats, complicit American journalists, couriers, financiers, and surrogates, to wage a secret war on the American homeland long before the United States ever entered the war. While a neutral America slept, German agents set out to destroy America's industries and warfighting capabilities, executing sabotage missions against railway bridges and waterways linking the United States and Canada. Aboard burning and exploding ships in the Atlantic Ocean, in the smoldering ruins of bombed factories, munition plants, bridges, warehouses, horse depots, and seaports throughout the country, and in secret workshops where deadly germs, poisons, and homemade bombs were designed and manufactured. Their direct action missions and intelligence gathering operations included poisoning cattle, food and medical supplies, injecting deadly germs into war horses and mules destined for Europe, carrying out assassinations from Maryland to Texas, bombing the United States Capitol, inciting racial unrest, encouraging labor strikes at American businesses, and sowing division amongst the American public by planting fake news stories and pro-German propaganda in newspapers, movies, and magazines. It was a dastardly and irregular form of warfare on a scale which the U.S. had never experienced and for which it was caught woefully unprepared. This is this is great. This is Michael Digby's third book. Okay, I didn't realize that. I'm gonna have to check out his other work. I knew that there was some talk about German sabotage efforts in America prior to its entry into World War I, but I did not know about it in that much detail. So this will be a really great corrective to kind of filling in the gaps on that. Wow. Oh, they had a cell in Detroit. That's my home city. Chapter 6, the Detroit cell. They're probably still there. Sorry. What's going on with my light now? Woo! Oh, this light is... Hang on a second. I think I just screwed up the lighting on my camera. You try to buy something new, and this is what happens. It's the white of the page that blew it away. Okay, so we're going to just kind of go with that for right now. Okay. Anyway, Burn, Bomb, and Destroy, the German Sabotage Campaign in North America. Check it out by Michael Digby. Okay, then we go to World War II. And I already have, I think this is the concluding book in the trilogy. It's called War in the Far East is the series name. I'm just going to do something really quick. Okay. And this is the third book. Gosh, I think the other two are in my other room, the other library room. But this is the concluding volume of War in the Far East, and this is Asian Armageddon, 1944 to 1945, by Peter Harmsen. And they're all written by Peter Harmsen. Let's see here. Yes, the other two that I have are Storm Clouds Over the Pacific, 1931 to 1941, and then Japan Runs Wild, 1942 to 1943. It says here, the last 20 months of World War II in the Asia-Pacific are laid out in this riveting narrative, forming the first truly international account of the epic conflict that brought Hirohito's Japan to its knees and gave rise to the modern world increasingly dominated by the intensifying rivalry between the U.S. and China. Okay. Let me read a little bit more about this. So Asian Armageddon, 44 to 45, describes how, during the last 20 months of the war in the Pacific, a U.S.-led coalition of nations battled Japan into submission through a series of cataclysmic encounters. Leyte Gulf, the biggest naval battle ever, was testimony to the paramount importance of controlling the ocean, as was the fact that the U.S. Navy carried out the only successful submarine campaign in history, reducing Japan's military and merchant navies to shadows of their former selves. Meanwhile, fighting continued in disparate geographic conditions on land, with China forming a bloody but oft-neglected battleground. The chaos of Imphal, the inferno of Manila, and the carnage of Iwo Jima were milestones on the bloody road to peace, sealed in Tokyo Bay in September 1945, after 2 nuclear blasts and the long-awaited Soviet entry into the war against Hirohito. With the end of hostilities, a new and dangerous world appeared. It was a world where the stage was set for the Cold War and for international rivalries that last to this day. And a new constellation of powers emerged, with the outlines just over the horizon of a rising China. Interesting. So this volume forms the last installment in the War in the Far East series, a trilogy of books comprising a general history of World War II in the Asia-Pacific. Unlike other histories on the conflict, it encompasses a far wider group of actors to produce the most complete account yet written on the subject and the first truly international treatment of this epic conflict, including the mass starvations that cost millions of Chinese, Vietnamese, and Indian lives, or the participation of Mexican pilots in U.S. service. Interesting. Okay. Author Peter Harmsen pieces together the full range of perspectives reflecting what war was like both at the top and on the ground. So the final edition of that series. I'll try to pull out the other two maybe in my next video and just highlight them to you. If you're interested, let me know and I'll show them to you. But I love it. Ooh, some gruesome pictures in here. But anyway, lavishly illustrated photos, good stuff. So I'm glad to check this one out. Well, I need to finish the other two first. So, but this is gonna make a really good. This is going to be interesting to study these 3 books in relation to some of the ones that are coming out. Now, I've seen other videos that. With Nonfiction November wrapping up, David Murphy did he's looking at his TBR, and I think I want to join him for a couple of the books that he's reading. I'm trying to get my hands on Fire and Fortitude, which is about the battles in the Pacific, and it's by John C. McManus, because his new book, I think it's, he blanked on the name, and now I am. Oh, David. But his second volume about that, the war in the Pacific, is it Islands of Hell or something? Something hellish. uh, but he's going to be doing that, and I think another book which I might be ordering soon, The Iron Sea, but I want to check that one out. But anyway, I'd like to compare to see, because you're saying that this is a truly, they make some big claims here about how like it's the most complete account yet written on the subject, the first truly international treatment. I do find it interesting that they are trying to set up the rise of China through this history. That's a new take, as far as I'm aware. I haven't read any other histories that have some type of, kind of calling in the present day as far as watching China's rise, even in the ashes, because they were just devastated in World War II and Japan's depredations. So I'm curious about that. So I'm going to give Peter Harmsen's trilogy, that might be on my list for Nonfiction November. I might actually just go ahead and get going with the first and second volumes. So really happy to have that final one. If you're interested, check out these books. Is this World War II or is this Vietnam? Now we're moving to Vietnam. What? Brand new book, and this was also highlighted in my history book club. This is Black Horse Tales. Stories of 11th Armored Cavalry Troopers at War. Sorry for the reflection. By Donald C. Snedeker. Casemate book. Brand new release. Where am I at? 36 minutes. Let's see if we can get through this. Over 25,000 young men served in the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment during its time in combat in South Vietnam and Cambodia. Their stories and those of their families represent the Vietnam generation in graphic, sometimes humorous, often heart-wrenching detail. Collected by the author through hundreds of in-person, telephone, and electronic interviews over a period of 25-plus years, these war stories provide context for the companion volume, The Black Horse in Vietnam. Oh, okay. This goes with another book. Okay. The stories transport the reader back to the battlefields of Vietnam, where Black Horse troopers fought against a savage enemy, primeval jungles, monsoon rains, and unbearable heat, only to return to a country that no longer cared. The important role played by the families is highlighted, ranging from letters to and from home and care packages from back in the world to the critical role of the love and understanding from parents, siblings, and spouses during the long post-war integration back into society. Between the chapters are combat vignettes, one from each year of the regiment's 5.5 years in Southeast Asia. These combat narratives remind the reader that the Black Horse was at war. Okay. Okay, so these war stories provide context for the companion volume, The Black Horse in Vietnam. So I might want to get my hands on The Black Horse in Vietnam. I might have to hit up Daniel to see if I can, because these kind of supplement that. A lot of personal, photographs, snippets of letters, kind of reminiscences, letters home. Just pictures of the people involved and the families and loved ones. So that's fantastic. So Black Horse Tales, stories of 11th Armored Cavalry Troopers at War. All right, so we got those. What do we have? So now we have the most recent books that a casemate has sent me. Is that too bright? No? Okay. All right, this is a big chunkster of a book. This one was a new, this has been newly available in paperback. We go back to World War II, and we're reading it from the German side. And this is Victory Was Beyond Their Grasp, with the 27th Volksgrenadier Division from the Hurtgen Forest to the Heart of the Reich by Douglas E. Nash Sr. Okay. Victory Was Beyond Their Grasp. So just released in paperback. It says here, while the wonder weapons such as the V-1 flying bomb, the V-2 missile, and the Messerschmitt Me-262 jet fighter are widely recognized as being the most prominent of these initiatives upon which Germany pins so much hope, the Volksgrenadier Division, also known as the VGDs, are practically unknown. Often confused with the Volkssturm, the Home Guard militia, VGDs have suffered an undeserved reputation as second-rate formations filled with young boys and old men suited to serve only as cannon fodder. This groundbreaking book now reappearing in a new edition, shows that VGDs were actually conceived as a new elite corps loyal to the National Socialist Party, composed of men from all branches of Hitler's Wehrmacht and equipped with the finest ground combat weapons available. Whether fighting from defensive positions or spearheading offensives, such as the Battle of the Bulge, VGDs initially gave a good account of themselves in battle. Using previously unpublished unit records, Allied intelligence and interrogation reports, and above all, interviews with survivors, the author has crafted an in-depth look at a late-war German infantry company, including many photographs from the veterans themselves. In this book, we follow along with the men of the 272nd VGD's Fusilier Company from their first battles in the Hurtgen Forest to their final defeat in the Harz Mountains. Along the way, we learn the enormous potential of VGDs and feel their soldiers' heartbreak at their failure. Donald Nash, this is the writer here, is a West Point class of 1980 graduate and a retired U.S. Army colonel with 32 years of service with various assignments, including Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan, Germany, Cuba, and Uzbekistan. Fantastic. He's written some other books. He had a recent trilogy about the 4th SS Panzer Corps. Oh, okay. He's written lots of books. So, I don't know anything about this. I'm just going to be honest. The Volksgrenadier Division. So, of course, I'm intrigued. There's literally hardly anything I'm not intrigued by when it comes to history or military history. Wow, we've got really a lot of in-depth maps. Lots of good stuff here. So this is a brand new in paperback. Excuse me, pardon me. Woo! It's the packing dust maybe from the books. Okay, and then we go to, let me see here. Let me see if I can group these together. Sorry, that sneeze snuck up on me. I was going to say I'm going to sneeze again, but it just happened. I always scare Martine when I do that because she just doesn't know what happens to me. I'm just talking, then all of a sudden I'm like, oh. Just sneeze. All right, we got 3 books left, guys, so thanks for hanging tough with me. So, okay. We're going to go back to Vietnam for 2 more books. This looks really cool. I think this is one of the new ones that was just released in paperback. Yes, it was. Okay. So it's been out for a little bit. I think it came out 2018 as a hardcover, but now it's in paperback. And this is We Few, U.S. Special Forces in Vietnam, Behind Enemy Lines with SOG by Nick Brockhausen. Okay. Brand new paperback release here. This riveting memoir details the actions and experiences of a small group of Americans and their allies who were the backbone of ground reconnaissance in the Republic of Vietnam during the Vietnam War. On his second tour to Vietnam, Nick Brockhausen served in Recon Team Habu, CCN. This unit was part of MACV's SOG, otherwise known as Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies and Observations Group, or Studies and Observations Group, as it was innocuously called. So, Studies Observations Group, SOG. There you go. Brockhausen's group racked up one of the most impressive records of awards for valor of any unit in the history of the United States Army. It came at a terrible price, however. The number of wounded and killed in action was incredibly high. Those missions today seem suicidal. In 1970, equally so. Yet these men went out day after day with their indigenous allies, Montagnard tribesmen, Montagnard tribesmen, Vietnamese and Chinese Nungs, and faced the challenges with courage and resolve. Oh, I love war memoirs, and spec ops are just, I find fascinating. And the fact that these are they have their indigenous allies in this one, I've always been intrigued by that. And especially how the U.S. worked with their South Vietnamese allies in the Vietnam War, and how, there were many that were really well-respected units. I'm thinking of the 52nd, I think it was a battalion, that Colonel Nightingale talked about in his book, Just Another Day in Vietnam, which was another Casemate book that I just loved. I have a book review about that one in my archives, so just check that out. Go into my playlist for book reviews. You'll see it, Just Another Day in Vietnam. But this is going to be another great memoir, I think. I look forward to checking this out. Brand new paperback release, We Few, U.S. Special Forces in Vietnam by Nick Brockhausen. Now, I don't think I asked for this one, but Daniel was kind enough to send it to me. It's another just high-quality production by Casemate. I can't say enough about their books. They really, they really cater to the military history aficionados, the readers who are really, committed to study and collecting, and who just, eat, breathe, and everything else military history. We just eat and breathe it. And again, this is another high quality production. Nice hardcover, glossy. This is Eyes of the Fleet over Vietnam. RF-8 Crusader Combat Photo Reconnaissance Missions. I mean, talk about just a really they pick out a narrow topic, but they can turn it into this beautiful book. And this is by Kenneth V. Jack. So brand new release from Casemate. And this one, again, glossy pages. It's built to endure. It's, coffee table type book. I'm so tickled to have it. Thank you for sending to me, Casemate. So let me tell you a little bit about this book. The air war in Vietnam started in 1964 with U.S. Navy carrier-based jets conducting photo reconnaissance and bombing attacks over Laos to thwart movement of North Vietnamese men and supplies into South Vietnam. Photo reconnaissance was essential to that effort, and Marine and Navy RF-8A photo crusaders provided the intelligence for senior commanders needing to plan and evaluate the strikes. The air war quickly expanded to North Vietnam, where pilots encountered highly accurate anti-aircraft artillery and surface-to-air missiles, as well as the threat of MiG fighters. The pilots flying unarmed jets soon became casualties in these dangerous skies. During the early months, they flew their missions knowing there was no rescue plan should they be shot down. The first prisoner of war was a photo pilot. Indeed. Photo reconnaissance has been a part of aerial warfare since World War I. And was critical to the intelligence community during the Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis, and the Vietnam War. It has not been dealt with extensively by military historians due to its product's sensitivity and secret classification. During the Vietnam War, photo recon detachments lost 31 RF-8s, 25% of all Crusader losses. VFP-63 deployed 42 detachments to 11 carriers from October 63 to January 74, making it the only squadron to have at least one unit in the theater from 1964 until the end of hostilities in Vietnam. Drawing on declassified reports and personal accounts, Kenneth Jack lays out the history of the Marines' VMCJ-1 reconnaissance, flown from carriers, and their successful electronic warfare effort for the first 3 years of the war. Included also is his VFP-62 squadron's deployment to the war effort. However, his narrative largely details the entire history of Navy's Light Photographic Squadron 63's continuous combat missions. The personal accounts of pilots, written in their own words, create a narrative that places the reader in the cockpit. He warns early in his narrative, death comes quick and unforeseen in naval aviation. Yes, it does. Lots of, obviously, aerial reconnaissance photos here. Fascinating, lavishly illustrated. Color photos, black and white. Glossy pages. Get that nice shine going on. I'm going to screw up my lighting here. Color photos. So, fantastic. Thank you so much. Eyes of the Fleet. So, really, I guess it's being positioned as a, first real in-depth study of, now that there are declassified reports about the importance of these photo reconnaissance units and, the price they paid. Can you imagine flying in a jet that's unarmed just to take photos and knowing that You can't fight back. Ugh, there was no rescue plan in place, so the bravery, the sacrifice. So I don't know, just amazing. Okay. Oh, so we're down to our last book, which is great because we're at 50 minutes. See how I have this? I have this ability to take over your day with these books. So this is like a strategy book, and I love this kind of stuff. I eat it up. It's like geopolitics, military, foreign affairs, military intelligence. So it's got a little hint of a Star Trek theme, but it's called To Boldly Go: Leadership, Strategy, and Conflict in the 21st Century and Beyond. And this is edited by Jonathan Klug and Stephen Leonard, with a foreword by Major General Mick Ryan. A strategy book like no other, says Elliot Cohen. Check out the cover. Isn't that awesome? So Boldly Go. Brand new release. So let me just read this to you real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. The literature of ideas. This is in quotes. When author Pamela Sargent used those words to describe science fiction in 1975, the genre had exploded into the literary mainstream. As a literature of ideas, science fiction has proven to be a powerful metaphor for the world around us, offering a rich tapestry of imagination through which to explore how we lead, how we think, and how we interact. To Boldly Go assembles more than 30 writers from around the world, experts in leadership and strategy, senior policy advisors and analysts, professional educators and innovators, experienced storytellers, and ground-level military leaders to help us better understand ourselves through the lens of science fiction. Interesting. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood. I thought it was going to be like, oh, this is very interesting. No, okay. This is the melding of science fiction with military, like leadership. I thought it might be like where we're moving as a country and like technology and how we're going to use it in the 21st century and beyond. But no, this is more of a blending. Okay, let me read further. Each chapter of To Boldly Go brings to light the lessons that we can learn from science fiction, drawing on classic examples of the genre in ways that are equally relatable and entertaining. A chapter on the burdens of leadership by Ghost Fleet author August Cole launches readers into cosmos with Captain Avatar aboard the space battleship Yamato. In another chapter, the climactic battle of the Mutara Nebula from The Wrath of Khan weighs the advantages of experience over intelligence in the pursuit of strategy. What does interspecies conflict in science fiction tell us about our perspectives on social Darwinism? Wow. Whether using Star Trek Deep Space Nine to explore the nuances of maritime strategy or The Expanse to better understand the threat poses. I think that's a typo. To understand the threat posed by depleted natural resources, To Boldly Go provides thoughtful essays on relevant subjects that will appeal to business leaders, military professionals, and fans of science fiction alike. Well, that is interesting. Okay, at first I misunderstood, but you know what? This could be a fun read. I'm not a current fan of science fiction. Now, I think when I was younger, I read some science fiction and really loved it. But I do like it. I do like science fiction in the realm of, like, say, Alien. Like, if it's combined with unsettling horror. So I guess in a sense I do like science fiction. I don't really read science fiction, but I love a good, like, Alien. What are some of the other ones? There's one where they fly close to the sun. What was it called? It was really good. It was like a British movie. Any type of thing that it does mix, like, scary, danger, with outer space, I am interested in. But as far as, like, world building and stuff goes, I've never really been intrigued. I liked Star Trek movies when I was a kid. I loved The Wrath of Khan. I loved Ricardo Montalban as Khan. Rich Corinthian leather, But this will be interesting. This might take me back in, it might give me an in back into science fiction, which I kind of left behind when I was a kid. Well, there you have it, guys. It's been an hour video. I apologize for the length, but I've had a lot of books that have piled up, and I really wanted to give them their due. They are fantastic titles. I love military history. Please let me know if you know of anyone else out there who in booktube world, even if you don't make videos and you're a woman who loves military history, hit me up in the comments. I'd like to know I'm not alone out there, that I'm not some freak of of some type. I don't think I'm a freak. I was in the military, and I love history, and military history really intrigues me from all ages, ancient to modern times. So, okay, guys, I'll leave it there, and I'll upload this. I've got many more videos to make. I'm glad to be back. I should be getting back on a regular schedule. I have book hauls coming. I have been given the green light that I can buy books again. I'm not going to go crazy, but I already have put in at least one order for some books that I wanted to get in. So, more books coming to the history shelf. And I'll give you an update on what I'm reading as well in a future video. So, guys, until next time, have a great Sunday, and I hope all of your teams win. And take care. We'll talk soon. Bye.